Alright. I am so excited to film this video. Welcome back to my channel, everybody. If you are new here, my name is Caira and I live in Chicago. All of my videos are about moving out, Chicago apartments. We got some Trader Joe's, we've got some cooking. It's just a really good time. You're gonna wanna stick around. Also because this is a part one of this series, so I'm gonna have more of these like moving out videos coming out. So you're gonna need to stick around so that way you can get all the info you need on what you need to know for when you move out for the first time. If you're moving to Chicago specifically, I already have a series like this on answering all of your questions about Chicago. Go watch that series, but this one is not Chicago centric. This is just general moving out questions. How can I help? Let me be your Sherpa. So if you don't follow me already over on Instagram, go follow me on Instagram. I answer a ton of stuff over there, but also I put up this question box and I asked you guys to ask me all of the questions you have about moving out for the first time. I have lived, I feel like, in every basic situation you can ask for. I did the college dorm thing, I did college roommates, I did roommates post-college, I did my own place by myself, I've lived with my boyfriend, I've moved across the country, I moved to a different state for college as well. I'm all over the place. I've done it all. So I feel like I have a really good idea on how to move, what are some really good ideas, what are some tips, tricks, yada yada, to make this a lot easier for you, because boy have I had some mess ups and mistakes in the past as well. All right, let's just jump into it. I'm gonna start with this one because I got it a couple times. Someone said, how to make friends, meet people after moving alone somewhere new, and someone else said, how do you make local friends? This one was a hard one for me because I moved to Chicago not knowing a single person. My boyfriend and I moved to Chicago in the beginning of 2019 for his job. It was a pretty sudden move and I didn't know a single person. I flew out to Chicago for the first time to sign our lease and I had never even visited Chicago before we already knew we were moving here. I was super excited. I love this city, so it worked out really well, but I didn't have any friends whatsoever. And what was really tough was I moved here and I had quit my full-time job back in Arizona. And so I had started working for myself. I was doing like a million and one side hustles. And so I didn't have like an office to go to make friends. Post-college, so many of my really close friends came from me working in an office environment, but then moving here, I didn't have that. And now like we're in the middle of a pandemic and the offices are closed. So like moving now is even harder. I'm gonna answer these questions as if we weren't living in a pandemic just because I want this video to be more evergreen and like help you guys out long-term. Fingers crossed we can get done with this stuff kind of soon. My top recommendation for meeting friends is Bumble BFF. Bumble BFF was how I've made all of my closest friends in Chicago. Legit, like my best friends here are because of Bumble BFF. Somebody told me recently you have to pay for it. I don't think that's true. I think you can upgrade and pay for like extra swipes or something silly, but it's free. And basically it's the same app as the Bumble dating app, but Bumble has like different profiles. Also not sponsored. Bumble's never reached out to me ever. There's like the Bumble, like the dating one, then there's Bumble Biz, which is for like networking, never used it, and then Bumble BFF. And that is basically just people who are saying like, I want more friends. I want to make friends. How do I make friends? So you like fill in a profile, you talk about yourself. I have a whole video on Bumble BFF. So if you're interested, go watch that. But that was crucial for me when I first moved here and I made all my friends that way. I'll say I probably went on like 10-ish Bumble BFF like dates. I'd say it was like a 50% success rate. 50% of the people we came away and were like, that was fun, but you're not really my person. And then 50% of the people, those are my people and they are like my go-to best friends. And I'm just so thankful that I met them through this app. Highly recommend. Another thing you can do is go to your gym, go to your apartment amenities if you have those. Go to places that you frequent and you like to hang out and other people will be hanging out there too. When I first moved to Chicago, my gym had free gym classes and so I was in those all the time and I made so many great friends doing those gym classes. It was so much fun and they were like like-minded people like me. They happen to also live in my building, so it was just a really easy way to make friends right off the bat. Okay, somebody asked, is it important to have a credit card before moving? Yeah. I'm gonna go with a yes on this one. You need to start building your credit. Having no credit is better than having bad credit. So really, if you're someone who you are not financially stable or responsible enough to be able to have a credit card and you're afraid you're gonna run it up and ruin your credit, don't do it. Don't get a credit card. No credit is better than bad credit. However, buildings will check your credit. Buildings will want you to have a credit score. Most buildings will have a minimum credit score that they require. They will run a credit score for you. Credit is also just a really good thing for you to have if one day you need to buy a car or you're buying a house or you need to take out a loan for something. Like you will need good credit to be able to be an adult one day. One thing that you can do, which is how I started building my credit and was always really successful for me, was I had a credit card that I just had on auto pay. I would only use it on like minimum purchases. So like Ubers or something, like that credit card was only connected to my Ubers. Anytime I took an Uber, it would charge it to that card, but then automatically every single month it would pay it off in full. And it just starts building your credit up really easily on really small purchases, but it helps you get that credit score. So it's something like if you're in college and you're taking Ubers and you don't have a ton of money, but these are something you'll pay for anyways, maybe consider getting a credit card and just using it on that to be able to build your credit. You will need good credit at some point. So many questions on budgeting, how to budget with an example, budgeting tips, how much to save, how much should you have, how to prepare your finances. I feel like this is actually a harder question than like people understand. Budgeting is gonna be different for every single person. I like the idea of doing an example. Let's do an example, everybody. Here is Sally. Sally has a nice job and Sally makes $3,000 a month at her job. Sally wants to move. How much should Sally's apartment cost? My suggestion is it should be 1/3. You do not want to be paying 50% of your monthly income to your rent. Also, most places won't take you. Buildings typically require that you have 2.5 to 3 times the amount of your gross monthly income to cover your rent. So if your apartment is $1,000 a month, they'll either require that you make $2,500 or $3,000 a month gross, so before taxes, to be able to pay that rent. I would say if Sally's making $3,000 a month, get an apartment that's $1,000 a month or less. Secondly, not everybody has the luxury to do this, but if you're starting young and you're able to start saving money now, I think it is hugely advantageous to have a savings account that is worth 3 months of your monthly expenses. So in Sally's situation, let's say she makes $3,000 a month, I would wanna have a savings account with $9,000 in there to be able to cover myself in case something happens and I need 3 months to be able to get back on my feet. These are things that like, I feel like most people didn't consider, and then we hit a pandemic and a lot of people lost their jobs. And do you know how much more happy and comfortable Sally's gonna be that she has $9,000 in the bank account versus if you are literally spending every single penny you make on your current paychecks and you have no savings? That is a stressful situation. Sally's a little bit comfortable. Still stressful, not great, but comfortable. That would be my 2 recommendations. When it comes to budgeting tips for your actual move, it gets expensive. So there's a lot of things that go into what you have to pay for to move that people don't anticipate. A couple of things I want to point out. If you're moving cross country, then you're either going to have to pay movers, which is super expensive, like $1,000 plus depending on where you're going. You could also do something like get a budget rental truck, which is what we did, and we took a week off work. It was like $300 to rent the truck, super cheap. But then you're paying for all the gas and you have to consider in like your downtime that you're not able to be working because you're moving. If you're moving like within a city, like movers that are expensive, boxes are expensive, and then also just all of the fees that come with a new apartment. Boxes, number one, don't go to Home Depot and buy your boxes. Boxes are super, super stupid expensive. Go to like different businesses. Liquor stores are a really great one. Grocery stores, more like your family owned mom and pop type shop. They always have crazy amounts of boxes on hand and they'll always be willing to give them away because they just have to break them down and recycle them themselves. So it's easier for them to be able to give them away, and then you don't have to buy your boxes. When we did our last move, I stocked up on liquor store boxes, and that's how we moved everything, and it worked perfectly. Also, liquor boxes are very strong, so highly recommend. One thing that this is gonna depend completely on whatever type of apartment building you have, where you're moving, so many things go into this. But keep in mind, when you are looking at an apartment, you're not gonna be paying just that rent price to start off. You'll probably have a deposit, you might have a move-in fee, you might have an application fee. Like there's lots of fees that add up that go into that you'll have to budget for as well. So make sure you have a good extra chunk of your savings to be able to put down for all of that. I can't speak for everywhere, but here in Chicago, a lot of buildings will do like a $50 application fee and then a $450 admin fee. And like there's different things like if you're working with me that I can do to make it so you're not paying those, like look and lease specials and whatnot. But like just standardly, you'll have this like $500 roughly that you'll have to pay. So keep that in mind when you're looking at places and see what their like application, admin, move-in, deposits, all these fees are, so that way you can budget that in when you're looking at if this is something you can afford or not. But yeah, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you. Moving is expensive, so the earlier you can start saving, the better. Somebody asked me how to move your plants. This is a very good question. I would like to quickly point out, I have a lot of plants. That one is huge. I have moved plants across the country from Arizona to Chicago. I've then moved my plants from Chicago to New York. I have moved them back from New York. I have moved them within the city. Moving plants is really hard. Like people don't anticipate it. Moving plants is really hard because you can't stack plants. Like normal boxes of random things, you can stack them, right? plants you can't stack, so they all have to have enough real estate that they're able to just stand. The question specifically was, how do you move plants when you don't have a car? You're gonna need to rent a car. You're either gonna need to rent a car or you could Uber, depending on your size of your plants. But what I do is I get a box. For my like smaller ones that I'm able to do this with, I'll get a box and I'll just put as many pots in the box as I can, and then don't seal the top of it, just leave it open so the plants are like hanging out up there. But with my bigger plants, you're gonna need a car. Get an Uber or something. Honestly, when I move, I'm probably gonna need like an Uber XL, or if you're getting movers, like if you're paying people to move your stuff for you, they should be able to move your plants without any problem. It might cost you a little bit more because it might take more time since they do need that extra space, but that is also an option. Plants are not easy to move, but when you love them so much, it is worth it. Somebody said, suggestions on affordable but cute, comfy furniture. I love IKEA, but I need more options. All of my furniture I bought used. Everything is used. I've got like a handful of things that aren't used, like my coffee table came from IKEA, but like this bar stool I'm sitting on is used, my couch is used, my side table, someone was throwing it away, my dresser is used. I use Facebook Marketplace for everything, especially if you're living in a big city. People put everything on Facebook Marketplace and there is such good furniture. I think especially because a lot of people in Chicago, they're moving into the city or they're leaving the city, their job got them transferred elsewhere, yada yada, but they'll have these really beautiful apartments that they then will furnish with really beautiful furniture from like a West Elm or a CB2, and then they're moving, and if they're working like in a really nice professional job, maybe they got a moving stipend and they're just like, someone come take this furniture away, I'm not taking it with me, have it kind of thing. And I've seen like $4,000 couches going for like 300 bucks. So that is always my recommendation. Use Facebook Marketplace. If you're looking to furnish your place on a budget end, that is always, I think, the best to do. I think that is much better than spending your money on like a Wayfair or Walmart. I would much rather buy used furniture that's higher quality and it's gonna be the same price, but it's used. Disinfectant can do wonders. Then you just have nicer stuff. Honestly, even when I have the money to buy really nice furniture one day, I'd still rather buy it used, and then you don't have to assemble it, and then you're also just saving a ton of money. So Facebook Marketplace is amazing. It's where I've gotten all of my stuff from. Somebody said, is it worth it to take advantage of rent discounts due to COVID when moving to the Bay Area? I'm just gonna preface this as, is it worth it to take advantage of rent discounts because of COVID anywhere and not just Bay Area specific? But yeah, 100%, absolutely. Take advantage of those discounts as much as you can because they're not gonna last forever. In my opinion, I would rather get the best place possible on a huge discount, and then if the rent goes up in a year or after my 18-month lease or whatever, then I'll move and I'll go to a different place that will then be in my price range then. But that means that I'm living in a really, really nice apartment for way less than it's worth because of these crazy discounts. So 100%, I'd say it is absolutely worth it to take advantage of it. Here in Chicago, the prices, at least a couple months ago, were so much lower than we've seen in years. The deals that were happening were just absolutely unbelievable. If those deals are still happening wherever you're moving, 100% take advantage of those deals because they're not gonna last forever and they can make a huge, huge difference. What is renter's insurance and do I need it? Not everywhere is going to require rent insurance, but I highly recommend getting it. It's not expensive. I think when people see the word insurance, they automatically think like home insurance or car insurance, which is extremely expensive. Renter's insurance is super cheap. For our place, we live in a one bed. It is me, my boyfriend, and we have a dog, and the dog has to be disclosed on my renter's insurance. And it is $12 a month. So super cheap. And that also covers everything we have in the apartment. If something crazy happens and your apartment floods, your furniture is covered, your technology is covered. Like all these things are then covered because of it. My building requires for me to have renter's insurance, but I think at this point, it's something I would do regardless. It's not expensive. I use Lemonade. There's tons and tons of different places you can get renter's insurance. I think like even your normal like State Farm and stuff does renter's insurance, but I've used Lemonade for a couple years. They've been great. It's super cheap, and I think it's definitely worthwhile getting. Oh, okay. This person gave me a bunch of great questions. The first one is, what was your deciding factor that helped you settle on your apartment building? So for me, I will always prioritize location. I think that is the most important thing. I would much rather live right in the location I want to live and have a smaller space than have a giant apartment but be really far from where I want to be. Location to me is huge. I love where I'm at, but that's something like when you're looking at moving to a different city or state or just moving out for the first time, figure out where you want to be. What is somewhere that is either close to work or close to school or close to your favorite coffee shop that you go to all the time? What is something that makes sense for you? And I would say make that your priority. I'd also rather live in a smaller apartment and live somewhere that I feel like is really safe and that I'm really comfortable walking around. I'm sure I could get a much bigger place than this in an area that I wouldn't feel safe in, but 100% I would rather have smaller space in my location that I love and that's somewhere that's really safe. Depending on what your budget is and where you're looking at and everything, figure figure out what are the things that come with your apartment that are really important to you. For me, I really love having a gym because it's something that I use all the time, and if I didn't have that gym, then I would have to pay for a gym membership elsewhere. So that's something that's really important. Figure out what is your priority. Do you spend most of your time in your bedroom? Do you spend most of your time in your living room, in your kitchen? For me, I spend so much time in my kitchen. So having a nice kitchen with like nice appliances and having the storage I need, these are the things that I look at when I'm picking a place. But really just figure out what makes sense for you. Make those things your priority when you're looking for places. Also, don't be afraid to shop around and figure out what's the best deal. If you're living somewhere like a Chicago or a New York or San Francisco where there's leasing agents that are able to help you, then absolutely reach out to a leasing agent. I'm a leasing agent with Compass, and my job is to take people around and show them different apartments and find them the best apartment for their budget that fits everything that they want for their lifestyle and what they're looking for in the best location. And that can be super, super helpful, especially if you're moving to somewhere for the first time and you're not used to that city. Having someone who's a professional that knows the city, knows the market, can be super, super helpful. This is not the same for everywhere, but at least here in Chicago, working with a leasing agent is completely free. You guys will never pay us. Basically, the way it works is whatever building you end up picking, they pay us a commission, but it can be anywhere. It can be any listing, anywhere in the city, and we're able to help you find that. Let me know if you're looking for an apartment. I would love to help you, but those are the things that I always like when I'm talking to clients. I'm trying to figure out what is most important to them, and so I can find them the place that really fits them perfectly. Next question, how did you cope with moving away from family? So this is a little bit of a hard one for me. I haven't lived with family since I was 18. I moved away for college and I moved to a different state. My family is also just all over the place. When I went to college, my mom moved to Belize and taught yoga on the beach because she's just the biggest badass I've ever met. And then my dad travels for work all year round, so he's always gone. Once I was gone, my family was also gone, and so it wasn't like I had everyone back home in one place, because I think that would be a lot harder for me. For me, it was like, this is all of our lifestyles, so it's easier because I'm not missing out on this core thing. I have friends who have like that, all of their families in the same exact place. How would they move away from that? And I get that. That would be really hard. But I think my advice would be, you can always go back. Home will always be there. You can always go back and visit and see them. And if you decide that you move away and you miss it and you want to go back, you can. But to cope with that when you are trying it and you're moving away for the first time and you're not near your family, is FaceTime is such a freaking blessing. I love FaceTime. I would like to write them a letter about thank you so much for creating this technology to be able to video call people. FaceTime, Skype, Zoom, I don't care what you're using, Facebook Messenger, but that is everything to me because all of my loved ones are dispersed all over the freaking world. Everyone is everywhere, but because of this technology, I'm able to call them and FaceTime them and see their faces, and it just makes such a difference. You can still have that closeness and feel like you are right there with them even when you're not. Technology has just been such a blessing for me. I feel like all of my relationships are just as strong as they were when we were in person with each other. If it wasn't for the ability to be able to have all of this technology, I think that it would be so hard. All right, I'm gonna tie these two together. What's your best advice for the first month after moving in? And what is the first thing you suggest buying when you first move out? First thing I suggest buying, unless you're able to take it from home, is you're gonna need a bed. So you're gonna have to figure out where you're gonna sleep. Bed should probably be number one. At this point, there are so many amazing mattresses you can get off of Amazon. That would be my recommendation. You don't have to spend $1 million on your mattress. Just get something that's good and comfortable. And I think those have done really well for people. But you're gonna need a place to sleep at night. Say you know you're moving out, you're going somewhere, you don't have any of your furniture yet. The first thing you really need is a mattress, and then you can really build from there. If I was moving to a different state or something, I'd probably order a mattress online, have it be delivered to the apartment for when I get there, but then everything else you don't need immediately. When it comes to big pieces of furniture, if you're able to buy them ahead of time and store them somewhere and then move them with you, that works. But also you can just wait until you get there and then start stocking Facebook Marketplace and just buy all of your furniture like that. But really, like, once you're in the space, you'll be able to see exactly what you need, and it makes it so that you're not buying a ton of furniture ahead of time just to put it in an apartment and be like, oh crap, this doesn't fit, this isn't what I thought it would be. Doing it once you're there will be able to make it so you can really envision it and see exactly what pieces you need. So that would be my suggestion as far as like moving in, first month there, new place. Secondly, if you're moving like to a new city or something, get out as much as you can. Go for walks in your area, go to coffee shops, just like explore the area and get comfortable with it, because it's gonna take a little while for you to get your feet wet and really like feel grounded and like you know the area you're in. And so the more you can get out and the more you can explore it, sooner that will happen for you, and this area will really start to feel like home. When I first moved to Chicago, like I said, I was doing a million and one side hustles, and one of them was walking dogs. And that was the perfect thing for me because I had never been to Chicago. I didn't know Chicago at all. But walking dogs, I was just constantly walking around different neighborhoods and exploring different areas that I didn't know. And it made it so I got to know the area so much better and so much quicker because I was constantly out and about. All right, guys, that's gonna be my last question for this one. I'm about to film a part 2 of this, which will be coming out in a couple of weeks. So keep an eye out for that, but hopefully this answered some of your questions. If you have any other questions, always shoot me a DM. You can comment them down below. I'm gonna make this like an ongoing series, so let me know and we will continue answering these questions, but hopefully this helped and taught you something that maybe you didn't know before. If you did like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Also, go ahead and hit that big red subscribe button and hit the bell notification so that way you get notified when I do continue posting these videos so you can see all of the things I answer in part 2. Also, go over and follow me on Instagram. I'll probably do another question box at some point, and so throw me your questions. Let me answer anything you need to know. I am 100% here to help. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.